Hello, everyone, and welcome to a brand new episode of the Rouge Rugby podcast. I'm Stu Hardy, and it has been a very, very cold day in Toronto here. We've had, 50 centimeters of snow that's averaged to have come through across southern Ontario. And also left out in the cold is Mr. Derek Brissett. Derek, how have you been?
Oh, it's funny. It's funny that you say almost left out in the cold, because I think I just finally got back in from the cold. My day today was actually kind of wild. I woke up and for some reason was like, I should try to go to work still, be a good employee, I guess. Got out, shoveled my car. I live where I kind of live. There's like four, I guess, like all the streets that kind of lead into where like my neighborhood is are all hills. And all like the hills that I would normally, the one street that I would take to go to work as I'm driving in the snow at like 6:30 in the morning. And I just got to the top of the hill and I look down and there's like 6 sets of lights that I see. And I'm just like, none of those lights are moving. And it's all just, and I'm like, there's like 6 cars stuck at the bottom of the hill. So I ended up like backing up, taking like this long convoluted route to get to work just so I could avoid some hills, because I was like, I didn't feel like getting my car stuck in there. Usually takes me 15 minutes to get to work. I think I got there in about an hour 10 or so. So that just to like give you a little bit of an indicator there. Ended up being late. I was one of like, I think we got like 45 guys or something like that on our shift. I think there was only like 9 or 10 there. And then we just got told to go home after like 3 hours anyway. So I was like, so then I drove all the way back. By the time I got back home, my driveway had, like, as you said, Stu, like all 50 centimeters of snow was just piled up on the driveway. So I spent 3 hours. So I spent 3 hours shoveling the driveway, and then kind of de-thawed, and now I'm recording this podcast.
And for our friends south of the border, that's about 20 inches of snow that has fallen overnight, essentially. It's been pretty chilly. It's been up to my knees, essentially.
Yeah, it is. It's fun. There's some, like, I've seen like some kids in our neighborhood are like jumping in like snowbanks and are literally like being completely covered. There's some
They're doing the Canadian soccer celebration.
Yeah, well, that's not the well, I mean, yeah, that Canadian soccer player though has done that plenty of times in his life too, I'm sure. But yeah, I thought I saw somewhere today that it's one of the biggest ones in like the last like 10 years just for like overnight snowfall. So I saw a couple Instagram posts from some of the new arrows kind of experiencing it for the first time, which is always fun too. So it's been quite the day today. Lots of snow or whatever. Maybe next time I might not be as determined to actually find my way to work. So, but I'm still here for this podcast, though. Don't have to go outside for this.
That is the most important thing you could have done today. Right. Speaking of like Arrows players, I think we should start with talking about the Arrows. And we got a bit of bad news to begin with. Is that the preseason game between the Arrows and the UBC OB Ravens, so that's the old boys team, has unfortunately had to be cancelled because of the COVID situation that's still ongoing. Remember, everyone, to wear masks while you're outdoors, keep washing your hands, keep socially distanced where possible. Yeah. However, that said, the game against DC is set to go ahead this coming weekend, so they will be a preseason game, at least for the Arrows. They are also hoping that they can play the Ravens next year as well in their preseason 2023. And unfortunately, the bad news doesn't end for the Ravens, because their fixture against Seattle Seawolves has unfortunately had to be cancelled. And Seattle will now be playing Seattle. And that's not an inter-team game. That'll be the Seattle Seawolves versus Seattle Saracens, or Seattle RFC.
I think they're just the Seattle Rugby Club.
Sorry. Either way, if you go along in blue and green, you're going to be supporting the right team.
So I guarantee. You know what? If we were to actually do the prediction game for this, at least one of us would pick Seattle and one of us would be right.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's been a bit of nerves, especially amongst the Toronto fans now, saying because This feels a lot like last year with COVID restrictions and border restrictions. However, Bill Webb has taken to social media to alleviate those concerns, saying that the Arrows intend to only play in Canada for the 2022 season, because of course their first fixture, that's a home game, will be played at Starlight Stadium in BC. And today they've released tickets for that match against LA in BC. So for as little as $20, you can go along and watch the hopefully watch the Arrows smash LA and
The Arrow, yeah, you
show
can go for
show
$20.
DTH Van der Merwe what he's missed. Show Ben Lesage we don't need him anymore. We're fine. We're fine.
There you go.
But
Yeah.
anyway, we're hoping that'll be a good game. Obviously, I say $20. It starts as is that if you exclude like the airline flight from Toronto to Vancouver and then the ferry trip for Vancouver to the island, then maybe a little bit more. But obviously, if you live on Vancouver Island, it's certainly much easier to get to that game as well. And the Arrows will be back in Toronto over 1,000 days after they last played in Toronto in April of this year, which will be something good to see. But in the meantime, watching those Arrows games for the 2022 season will continue to go through TSN. That partnership has been renewed for this coming season. So we may be in the same situation of we'll only find out which TSN channel those games will be on the week leading up to it, maybe like 48 hours before. But all those games are at least shown on the TSN app or tsn.ca. So there will be access for fans to watch, especially when the Arrows are playing outside of Canada. And another partnership that has been extended is with their gaming partner, Coolbet Canada. That has been extended for this season. But something that came from that, which is a bit bigger news, is that Coolbet has now become the title partner, replacing Honda Canada on the front of their jerseys. And so it's not just jerseys, there'll be training wear as well and other things. And speaking of new jerseys, on the Friday just gone,
I was going to say, yeah, now that we got the housekeeping news out of the way, we can get
to the big story. Let's get to the meat and potatoes of this podcast.
Yeah,
because ladies and gentlemen, it's Kitmas. A good 3 weeks after Christmas. Perfect timing. But yes, we finally have the 2022 kit for Major League Rugby. And,
I was excited. It was a good day on Friday.
It was good because it came from very little build-up as well. They were just told that, Paladin will remain as the league's kit supplier on Thursday. And then every team was like, we've got a little bit of news to show you on Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern time. And then we're like, okay, if you're all doing it at the same time, it's got to be something big. And sure enough, it was the kit announcement for 2022. Yeah. Now, let's get down to it. What do you make, Derek, of the Arrows home and away kit for 2022?
I absolutely loved the Arrows kit for 2022. I personally, I think my first reaction on seeing them, one for the away kit was I love that over the years, the Arrows have been incorporating more of that Ontario Arrow gold into the kit. We got a little bit of it last year, and we got a little bit of it last year because the numbers on the away kit were gold, the one with the chevron arrows up hoops pattern that's on the kit. Which one I absolutely love because the Arrows are really the only team that could ever pull this off. It's like such a unique jersey design just for the Toronto Arrows. It's brilliant. But I do love that they added some of that Ontario Arrows gold to the chevrons as well as kind of highlighting it a little bit on the collar. The gold is there on the home kit as well. But it's just kind of on the collar and there's a little bit of, it's just on the collar and there's a little bit of piping on the side. I guess before kind of getting into, design specifics here, I love that for the Toronto Arrows, it doesn't so much seem as like their designs to me over the years haven't necessarily felt like new kits, but more like evolutions of the kit.
Okay,
And
yeah, I get that. Yeah,
yeah, and it's like it seems to like I don't know. To me, it seems to slowly get better every single year. The only knock that I think I initially had on the kit was that the traditional collars are gone, which is something that I've mentioned that I really love. But then I saw Brock Smith kind of tweeted that the players apparently do not feel the same way about the collars as I do. And considering they're the ones that actually have to play in these kits, I'm cool with the collars not being on if the players didn't like them very much. Um, so either way, back to the design of the jersey. The home kit, I think, is my favorite blue kit the Arrows have ever had. And
okay,
even that even goes because it's like it even helps. It's like when I saw like the computer image that the league released, I thought it was great, but then actually seeing it on Sam Malcolm later in the day, um, from those images released by the Toronto Arrows, I think like it looks amazing. I love the two different shades of blue kind of on the half of the jersey, the right half, the left half. The
yeah,
chevrons kind of going up. The chevrons kind of going up as well. Um, and like obviously it just works, man. And the arrows, it's gorgeous. The arrows logo sits there perfectly. Um, there there seem to be a lot of people making a big deal out of the size of the Cool Bet logo.
yeah.
And
I've
like
noticed that as
I didn't
well.
understand it at all personally. Also because like the image of Sam Malcolm, like it's not as big as it looks on here. But it's like I even saw like jokes and stuff about like are they going to change the name to like the Bears and stuff? And I'm like, do people not understand what a sponsor logo is? Like, I didn't get that kind of criticism of the kid at all. It's not like we're gonna talk about Atlanta changing their name to the rugby, the rugby APL, like ATL orthopedics or something, because there's a big
Yeah,
orthopedic logo on their kit. Like,
and I
it's
I
the
think it's
logo,
just
sponsored logo.
preseason jokes, and they need to occupy the time
Yeah.
somehow. So
And at least our sponsor's cool, but it's like, yeah, so it's like I love I love it. I love the Cool Bet kind of. Cool Bet has a very, very colorful logo. For anybody that doesn't know, it is a
yeah,
very colorful logo. And I think aesthetically too, I'm happy that they went with a white logo, blends in with the jersey a lot nicer. So that's so good on Cool Bet for being willing to do that because their logo is it's
it's a
incredibly
good logo.
colorful. It's a good logo.
I
It's
mean, if anyone
incredibly
has the kit from
colorful.
last year, they'll
Yeah.
know what the color logo looks like.
Yeah, yeah. It's a very colorful logo. I think this works a lot better. It integrates to the kit a lot more. Um, yeah, like so yeah, the home kit absolutely love everything about it. It's amazing. The away kit, very similar to last year. The hoops, the chevrons are a bit thicker. There's only two of them or two rows of them. I love adding the gold accent to it. Honestly, like in a weird way, the socks are amazing. I don't know, like the
Yes.
socks are glorious. They have the best socks in the league, like easily, in
Yeah.
my opinion. They have the best socks in the league. And I know people like if you laugh at that and stuff, it's like, hey, when you're grading kits, like what we're kind of doing right now, we're judging kit. The
Yeah.
shirt is a jersey. The kit is the full head to toe ensemble.
Yeah,
You
absolutely.
have
Come
to.
on.
The socks matter. Like the socks do matter. So the Arrows got the best socks in the league, so that's a big plus. And yeah, like this. You dude, I don't know. I love it. I love it. I think the blue kit is the best blue kit the Arrows have had. Seeing it on Sam Malcolm only kind of reaffirmed that to me, and I'm excited to see them wear it. I don't know what I kind of rambled on with a little bit of the description of the kit, but also I'm rambling on because I'm excited about stuff, and when I get excited about things, I kind of ramble sometimes. But what was your thoughts on the Arrows kit here?
I think it looks fantastic, and I'm already saving up to get the.
Yeah,
I think if I had to pick one, I'd probably go with like the away kit, mainly because I didn't get the Chevron kit from last season. So
yeah. That was
I
actually
mean,
kind of the thing that I thought too, looking at the jersey, was like I don't have an Arrows jersey. I don't have any MLR jersey, and it was like I kind of looked like I haven't bought one yet, and I kind of looked at the home kit here, and I was like, I think I need that one. So I think I'll
Yeah.
probably. I was like, I think I need to maybe part ways with some change here
Yeah.
for that home
No,
kit.
I get that.
Anyways, continue there, Stu.
No, I think it's a great kit. The only kit I have is the Arrows 2020 home kit because
Yeah.
I'm exceptional when it comes to picking kits that will be
Oh, you got the
used for the
2020
entire
home. You
season.
know what? Okay. Were you about to say that it's like you're exceptional at picking it because they barely wore that?
I'm exceptional at picking it because they wore it for a 5-game season and they didn't even wear it for all those games.
Dude, okay. So that's kind of been like that's the thing though, is I think it's kind of an interesting thing. To be perfectly honest with you, I kind of go back and forth sometimes on if I like the idea of having brand new jerseys, brand new kits every year. Whatever. I think there's a little bit of like that's kind of why like I tend to like the teams like Toronto, like New England, even like say Old Glory too, that kind of stick to a similar kind of look year after year, even if they evolve it slightly, or in Old Glory's case keep it the exact same. um but I think the one really interesting thing that happened with 2020 is like I don't know, like as if like sports memorabilia is a big deal, right? And a lot of places like you can, like and game worn and memorabilia and stuff is a big deal. And a lot of like, obviously like hockey cards, baseball cards,
Yeah, yeah.
things like that. That whole collecting thing. It's like there's a lot of money to be made in there. And it's in all honesty, I think there's something kind of cool if anybody has those 2020 jerseys like yourself, that I'm kind of like those you have a jersey that was worn like twice tops,
Yeah.
or 2-3 times maybe at most, or whatever. Like, and a lot of those teams too, because it was even like war kits, and it's like you never saw them again. Right.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like you got the like the original Gilgroni kits that we never saw again.
Oh, like the Austin Elite kits that
No, because they were the Gilgronis in 2020. They were the Gilgronis.
yeah.
Yeah, so that's the thing, right? You got so that year even better. You have the Austin
Right.
Herd kits that never saw the light of day.
Yeah.
That I'm sure are somewhere. I would love an Austin Herd kit if somebody has access to one, just to be like, I just want
Yeah.
this kit that was never actually used ever. But you have the original ones too that had the football numbers on it.
Yes.
That would be there. You would have um the Rooney baseball jerseys that
Yes.
only got worn for a couple games there. I'm just trying to think of like if there was anything else that was crazy unique. But even that, like you have like the first year Free Jacks jerseys that only stuck around. The first year,
Oh, I've got one. The Colorado Raptors
the
jersey.
Colorado Raptor jersey, yeah,
Exactly. Yeah.
that's only short. And then you would also have the Old Glory jersey, the original Old Glory jersey before they put the flag on it or
Yeah.
whatever, right? So it's like if I know honesty, if I know like you're saying that, but it's like if anybody has those 2020 jerseys, like I actually you're saying that it's like you did a poor job of picking which year you bought because you have the 2021. And I'm like, that's the coolest one to have, because it's like it's the ones that never, because they do have new kits every year. So it's like, they wore those, and then they wore those for like, I'm sure if you actually, I don't know what the actual breakdown of how often each team wore their kit that season, but I'm sure like it can't be for each team, like it can't be more than like 3 or 4 times that they wore one kit, right? So it's
Yeah.
I personally would think that is a cool thing to have if you own it, especially if you're an Austin fan that owns a Herd jersey. That would be cool. Just
Yeah.
it's cool to just be like, yeah, this team that never existed. It's kind of fun, because even that was the year too where all the Austin Gilgroni players were still walking around with Herd stuff because they didn't have
Yeah.
time or whatever to get
Yeah.
the
Well,
new
it's something like they only became the Gilgronis less than 2 weeks before the season began.
yeah, something like that.
Everything
Yeah.
was a bit hapdash and had to be done
Yeah,
quickly.
it was really quick. Yeah.
Yeah, ultimately, gotta say these Arrows kits for 2022, they look really great. In the press release photos and the computer generated photos, but I'm just gonna really love them when we get to see them being worn at home. in 2020 this season. Right. Well, we've talked a lot about the Arrows kit, but there's a few other teams that have their kits out as well. I'd say that there's 12 other teams have their kits out now, and we know that a lot of rugby podcasts and rugby content creators are already doing their best and worst lists. But we're just going to try and keep it as positive as possible. We're going to talk about our favorite kits. Yeah. And we're also going to talk about our most improved kits as well. And if you want to bring up any other comments, by all means. But we're going to try and keep it light, keep it enjoyable, keep it positive. So Derek, with the exception of the Arrows kit, because we've already said that it's great, top of the top, full marks, A+. But which other kits are you looking forward to seeing? Which one from either computer-generated imagery or the team's press releases have you looked at and think, I want to see that kit?
Yeah, I think it's funny on social media how it's kind of clear that the social media kit champions year after year are the New England Free Jacks. And I think they hit the mark again. As we said, it's like you put the collar on it. I love the traditional collar. It's been a staple of the New England Free Jacks kits throughout the existence of their franchise. They're another team whose kits seem to kind of evolve more than change, right? Like I think they're kind of as a brand, they kind of really know who they are, right? And it's just you get the traditional collar, you get the blue and white hoop, the blue, white, and red hooping, and stripe patterns, and that's how the kit kind of evolves. You can change the pattern of the stripes a little bit year after year, but it's like you're getting a traditional collar and you're getting a really cool like hoop pattern with the New England Free Jacks. Really, the thing too, though, I think for me, what kind of puts the Free Jacks a little bit over the top too is like sometimes it's like you kind of put in the details a little bit. It's cool to see like the club jersey, what they're calling their away kit, they're calling it the club jersey, having like the names of all the rugby clubs in New England, the red member kit, which is another thing that I really like this year. It's cool to see teams, New England, New York, Dallas kind of teased it, even though they didn't announce it, but it's cool to see teams announcing like third or even in New York's cases, fourth jerseys too. But like I like the red one too. The red one has like I think like season like ticket holder names or some sort to that. They called it the member kit, so it's like their fans. Not sure what the actual designation for how whose fans names got on there. But it's like all three of those kits look amazing. The other one I would shout out to would be New York, who is now no longer no longer united. I guess there was some infighting or something.
Shame.
Yeah, exactly. No longer united. They dropped that name. But it's now just simply Rugby New York. But the kits itself, I like the Statue of Liberty ones. They're okay, like they're pretty good. But I think like the real winner is the Heritage kit, being again another one with the traditional collar, the old school kind of hoopings, the double blue. I really like their logo without the roundel and Rugby New York written around it. I think without the roundel, it looks super clean on that kit. And then that all black one with the black and white logo, and then like the hoops that are made out of all the neighborhoods in New York is just so good. It's weird because it's like they released the home and away kit, but then they released two kits that were better than the home and away kit. Even though I do like the home and away kit, but like that's I think for me the three teams that stood out to me were the Arrows, New England, and New York from this. Anybody else you kind of want to shout out there, Stu, or anybody else that's kind of jumped up into what you thought stood out?
So actually one of the kits that really stood out to me was the NOLA away kit,
Yeah,
which is instead of being just white, white or gold. It is now gold and black, which I think is a spectacularly great color combination to have. Now, unfortunately, it's not the Mardi Gras kit, because if they had used that, they would automatically be
Yeah,
top tier.
that's America's Rugby News seemed to indicate that might be coming back. So
It absolutely is, because they know it's a fan favorite.
yeah,
I do have to say that the NOLA are sponsored by Louisiana State Tourism, I believe,
yeah,
and that's a white logo. So obviously having white against the black and against the gold, from what I've seen from the computer generated image, looks really good as well. Obviously, the NOLA logo against a black background as well really makes it stand out. Now, and especially when you compare it to the home kit, which has the logo on white. And I've noticed as well is that the Harlequin design, it's not solid gold, it's like gold lines
yeah. It's like
throughout
a
the kit as
pattern. Yeah,
well, which I'm a bit on the fence about, because part of me is like, oh, it's a computer generated image, so
no,
maybe it doesn't look as good.
no, that's
But
what they wore last year, though. The pattern.
oh well, I don't know. I think I'm either like go all out, which is what, and make it artwork, which is what New York have done, or just make it a solid color like they've done with their away kit, which is something I like as well. As for New England, I think that's very obviously the colors. Um, a lot of fans are very happy to see that return. I just wish that they had made them like full hoops instead of
Hmm.
stripes across the front and back. I don't know. Maybe that's just me.
I think if you went with full hoops, though, the kits would probably look too similar. At least going like the way they did it, it looks like a distinct blue, white, and red kit.
Yeah, so they've been able to do like 3 kits just by
Yeah,
stopping it as
yeah,
stripes and then using the fill color as
yeah.
something
Because if
else.
you
So
go all the
for
way around,
the
there would
home
be
kit, it's yeah. For
yeah,
the
there would
home
be
kit,
no
it's
difference if
navy.
you
For
went
the
all the way
away kit,
around.
it's white. Yeah, so I don't know. Maybe they can change it up so that maybe like one season it'll be like 2
Mhm.
thick hoops and 1 thinner hoop, and then you just change that color color order, so it will then make that, if blue is the thicker hoop, then it makes the kit look more blue. And then if you change that thicker hoop to red, and then it makes red. Anyway, that's something for New England design team to work on for next year. So I'm mainly talking about the Eastern kits. Let's have a look at
I
the
was gonna say yes,
Western
but
kits.
hey, like, hey, man, you know what? The East Coast, Beast Coast, right? They had the
Absolutely. What again? I'm going to talk about an away kit, and it's going to be a mixture of black and another color. But I've got to say, Austin's away kit, from the images that they've given, looks fantastic.
yeah,
Something I've noticed on the sleeve of both is that it's not just a straight color cut for the cuff, it's actually like a jagged edge
yeah.
all the way around, which I think is a very unique way to do it as well. And the bottom of the jersey is like fading into like orange as well. Kind of looks like fire coming from like the bottom of the kit, which I think is really good to have. Dallas, like DC, they're keeping the same kit that they originally were going to have for
Dallas makes so
20.
much sense to do that though.
Yeah, Dallas. Yeah, of
So much
course. For
sense.
Dallas, it makes sense.
I
And
don't
it's
even
just,
mind it for DC, to be honest. I think that's a really cool kit. Ain't
to
broke
be
the
honest, I think it's if all your cards line up, like all your sponsors remain the same,
yeah.
and people obviously like the jersey, so you can keep it. And it's just a case of, if something were to come along and the
Mhm.
new sponsor was like, oh, we want it like this, then maybe they have some sway. Obviously, they're providing
Yeah.
money. Houston's kit is, just inverse. It's either yellow to black or black to yellow, whichever way you look at it. But I'm it's not the worst kit. It's not the best either. I think it'll work for the season, but obviously Houston have like a big
I
rebuild
think
coming into the season.
I,
So
I I usually love Houston's kits. I think like even last year, I loved their kits last year. I thought they were like, to me last year, they were with like New England, Toronto, like they were like top 3 kits in the league. I think these would look better if they just went with the one color on the home and the away or whatever.
Like solid yellow and solid black.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if cutting it in half like they did, it doesn't work for me. If people like it, then awesome. I hope I like what they did with the logo, just using the saber cat head and got rid of the word mark on it too. I really like what they did with the logo. I just don't know. One of your questions on the script though was the most improved kit, and I was going to bring up the Austin away kit for that too.
Yeah.
Because my definition of improved in this case was going to be an innovation that just objectively makes the jersey better. And Austin on their social media put out a picture of the back of the jersey, which the numbers thankfully are not black.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah, like the previous, like the previous Austin kit being a white kit with white numbers and a white name, it was objectively like bad. Like even watching, we'll talk about Inside the Scrum later. The episode 3 of Inside the Scrum has a camera angle down by the sidelines at a line out. It's behind the hooker, and the hooker takes 2 steps. He throws it, and he takes 2 steps into the field of play, and you can't read the name on the back of his jersey anymore. Like, if you weren't more than 2 feet away, like, honestly, I have no idea how the commentary teams called those games. Like, those guys are legends. The ability to do that. Because I don't know. I would imagine they're just going off of the fact that they can recognize the players. So like, yeah, like that kit was nuts. And as you mentioned before, Stu, when you were talking about it, it looks great. The black, the orange looks amazing and works out really well. The orange on black numbers is just my absolute favorite new addition to any kit in the league, because I'm just looking forward to watching Austin and knowing what number everybody is. I like it's so much better. It's like an objective, like it's actual, you know what? Like, I mean, I think we're talking like, so we're talking about kits, right? Which is, I guess, like artistic, right? And it's like everything that we're saying is subjective. We said we love the Arrows jerseys. Perhaps there's people that don't like them. Perhaps there's people that don't like the Free Jack jerseys. We just kind of mentioned Houston's. Perhaps there's people that love Houston's, think Houston has the best kit in the league. That's fair to everybody, I think, right? Like, it's at the end of the day, all the kit designs are subjective. Austin's numbers being orange on black is objectively better than what they wore last year.
Yeah.
Right. Like
I think as well as like, it's not just Austin as well. We've seen like NOLA have gold kits that reflect light all the time. And what's their numbers on their back? White.
Yeah.
So
it's no, exactly. Yeah, it's like, if anything to make that more, especially for Austin too, because Austin does the other thing that I do love. The picture they showed at the back of the kit didn't have names on the back, but Austin has traditionally been the team with names on the back, and I do think names on the back could be a good tool for like marketing, especially since the player numbers, unlike other sports, the player numbers in rugby aren't consistent. They're consistent with the position that the player plays, but as we all know, guys may play more than one position like throughout a season, or even like, come off the bench one game, start the next game. And players may wear like 2, maybe 3 different numbers throughout a season, right? So it's like, I think like last names could help with like just new fans like identifying players. So I do like that Austin has worn the last names on the back. And now I think like this edition, but it's, you also go and you look at that white jersey from last year, and it's like, it doesn't really matter if you can't read them. So I like this change just for like practical reasons a lot. So Austin gets my nod for the most improved kit. both that it looks great, as you mentioned. So does the home one. We haven't really talked about the home one. Home one looks good too. It's just inverse of the away kit that we've been talking about. But I think Austin gets the bonus points because the kit looks nice and there's like a practical improvement to the jersey too that I think I'm more excited for.
And speaking of names on jerseys, New England have announced that fans can get jerseys with names on the back as well. And now thinking about it is that with Coolbet becoming the title sponsor means that the space they occupied on last year's kit on the back above the number has now been removed. Maybe we could have arrows with player names as well.
Yeah, I mean, I like it. I personally am a fan of it. I think, in all honesty, like the Premiership does it, and I think it works there well. I think the Premiership still needs to figure out that you can put the names on the back of the bench guys too. Like that kind of looks weird having half the players have names on the back and the other half don't. But I do like that. Overall, I think the kits were good. Do you have any other thoughts on anything that you kind of want to get off your chest? Any kit hot takes? We said you wanted to be positive, but
well, okay, here's one. So Seattle, their colors are mainly blue and green, and their kits have reflected that. But this season coming, their away kit is white with primarily blue trim around the collar and the shoulders, as well as the sleeves as well. And it looks pretty good, actually. And I know
it's a very nice.
This is coming from me, someone who's not a fan of teams having white kits, because I want a bit more color amongst the teams. But I gotta say, if they can get navy numbers on the back and the names are navy as well, it really stand out. And I'm pleasant. It's a pleasant surprise thing. So I am keeping it positive.
Yeah.
Is there anything you want to say about a kit that you're not?
I do, actually.
All right, come on, let's hear it. Hear it.
I like Seattle's. I'm gonna miss the lime green though. I like bright colors. I'm gonna miss the lime green, but the white kit looks great. So it's not a bad kit. It's actually a really nice kit. So is the blue one. I'm gonna miss the lime green a little bit.
Can I guess what kit you want to talk about?
Sure.
Yes. Or what team you want to talk about? Yes. Is it a certain team removing mountains from their kit?
No. Utah's kit looks awesome.
All right.
What? Utah's kit looks awesome.
I was
gonna say I did really like the mountains this year, but that's the same thing. I view that in the same way that I view, I guess, what we just talked about with the Seattle one. I really liked the kit last year. I like the mountains and stuff that Utah had, but it's like the striping pattern looks awesome too. Like it's still a great kit. The one that I wanted to, and also Utah, shout out to Utah for the best kit unveiling. The video with I don't know, the two red lights that kind of looked like lightsabers of some sort. And like an actual player kind of doing it. The audio of Dan Power's call when they got eliminated from the playoffs last year, accompanied by Tom Hardy's Bane. I was born in the darkness speech. It's amazing. Delightful. Utah won the kit announcement. Maybe not the best kit overall, but we're the one won the kit announcement.
Okay, so what's the team you want to talk about? Come on, let's get to it. No more dilly-dallying.
LA. I want to talk about LA.
All right. Okay.
So I'm gonna pull it up right now because I want the visual reference. But so I actually don't mind LA's kit. I know some people kind of think it's boring, but I actually like the white one, the home one. I actually really like it. I think it works well. They added a couple stripes and stuff. They kind of got like a faux collar thing happening now. Even to the extent that there's like the pink button hole, looks like buttonholes kind of around the collar. So I dig the white one. My criticism of LA's kit really comes down to their, I guess, their own branding, but also the scope of the league as a whole. And it's like, I think if you look at LA, I think you look at a lot of the branding, you look at the videos on Instagram of the players showing up wearing like team hoodies that are pink or blue, hats that are pink and blue, um, a lot of gear that's obviously white, pink, and blue too, because that's the home kit. And I look at it and it's like pink and that shade of blue, that bright blue. But pink especially is a super underutilized color in pro sports. There, like literally, there is no other pink professional sports team except for in North America, except for the couple random nights a year where the Miami Heat decide to rock the Vice jerseys, which also look really cool. And the point that I'm trying to get at is that LA has one of the coolest and most unique color schemes, not even in just in MLR, but like in North American sports. Like nobody else has these colors. And you go with an all black jersey. And I think my whole thing is it's like you have potentially one of the coolest color schemes in the league. And even that LA last year wore a bunch of different kits. One of them was pink, right? But it's like you go with all that, and if you look at you have these two great colors that you can use. Go with the white kit. The white kit, keep the white kit. You want to wear the white kit at home, that's awesome. But I would love to see like the away kit be like pink or blue or something, like use that color scheme a little bit more. Even if you took the away kit as it is right now and just inverse the colors. Go with pink and then a black logo. I think like that would look really cool because I think if you look at the grand scheme, like look at the conference that LA plays in, right? 6 in the Western Conference right now, 6 of the 7 teams have a black kit in the Western Conference. And the exception is the Seattle Seawolves, and they are navy blue.
Yeah.
Right? Like the whole conference, for the most part, the whole conference is black or incorporates black into the color scheme. Right. So, and I'm just like, I just look at LA and be like, what? Like, I just wish they would stand out a little bit more. Like, you have a really cool color scheme. I would just like to see them utilize it a little bit more. I know they wore a pink jersey last year. Hopefully that kind of comes back again. I would love to see it come back. I don't remember if that was just for the breast cancer game or not, but I would love to see pink kind of be incorporated back in, or I love to see pink or even that bright blue incorporated into the away kit a little bit. The away kit doesn't even have blue on it. Like it's like you have one of the best, you have two of the best, like one of the best color schemes. Like I would just love to see them lean into it a little bit more. That being said, I do like the kit, but I think it would be a cool. I think this, to me, the away kit for LA should be like an alternate kit. Like you can wear the black kit on like for some sort of special event or something. But it's like I would like to see them lean into the color scheme a little bit more.
I think the issue for me with the
black, it's not really a negative because I do like the kit, but that's my criticism of it.
I think my issue with the black kit is that the logo now becomes the title sponsor and there's just an LA for the logo, and it's like, but you're the Guiltinis. Just keep the logos the same. Obviously LA is like the one team that doesn't need a title sponsor because Adam Gilchrist's money is pouring in.
The Guiltini, like, I mean, that's what it's supposed to be, right? Isn't it at some point supposed to be like a drink brand?
Or, yeah, it'll be a drink that's named after a rugby team.
Yeah, but we're saying that though when Austin has a sponsor on their jersey.
Yeah, exactly.
Right,
that's what I mean. It's favoritism.
Yeah, so it's interesting. I mean, the one thing though that I guess I'm kind of with you though, like if in that sense is like the way they have the logo on the kit, it does probably obstruct like possible space to put a sponsor if LA so desired to do that.
Yeah.
That is actually the one thing I do really like about this kit release compared to other years is like most of the teams have sponsors on them.
Yeah.
Right away, like right out of the gate, most of the teams have sponsors on the kit. The only one that really stood out was to me was Houston doesn't have a Viva on the front of their kit anymore, and or maybe not anymore, but it's like they didn't have a Viva on the front of the kit as I don't know what their sponsorship situation is like at the moment, but they didn't have an Aviva logo on the kit in the
Anyway, minor details for now, but again, some great kits. Looking forward to seeing them in 2022. Now, Derek, you're wearing a Rugby Canada hat. I'm wearing a toque with Canada on it. We're just going to quickly talk about Rugby Canada because there's been a bit of news. So the organization has announced that it has retained SRI Global Executive Search and Consulting to help them with the search for a new CEO of Rugby Canada. Alan Vanson is still set to have his final day on January 31st, and there will be an interim CEO with the new CEO being announced in the middle of the year. So around summertime, hopefully. Nothing's been set in date yet, but we should have that interim CEO in the next few weeks. And now some disappointing news, obviously, because COVID-19 is still a thing, is that there have been news sources reporting that the 2022 Canada Sevens is to be postponed, which is unfortunate. It is originally scheduled to be taking part on the final weekend of February, which is the 26th to 27th at BC Place Stadium, but that will be postponed. But as well, it's not the only one that's going to be postponed. The LA Sevens, which is the following week on March 5th to 6th, that will also reportedly be postponed. And the Singapore Sevens are currently in question. The Hong Kong Sevens have essentially been cancelled for the current season, hoping that they can resume in November 2022. Yeah, things are still up in the air at the moment, as we know that both New Zealand and Australia had to be removed from hosting duties in 2022 because of COVID restrictions. New Zealand has also announced that neither the men's sevens nor the Black Ferns will be taking part in the Spanish sevens, which are coming up this coming weekend in Malaga and then Seville. So yeah, it's pretty disappointing to hear. Hopefully these tournaments can be rescheduled before the final weekend in London, which is meant to be at the end of May 2022. We should also point out that this is only for the men's tournament for the Canada Sevens. The women's tournament, which will be scheduled for the end of April in Langford, is remaining scheduled as planned for the time being. So hopefully at least that tournament can go ahead without any interruption.
Yeah. Yeah. So that all news just came out like about an hour ago from Patrick Johnston of the province. I think, like we said last week, though, like it's crazy to see how much of an impact this is still having, and how many sporting events and travel restrictions still have to get canceled and stuff. And I don't know.
Well, he's hoping it can just be rescheduled, not canceled.
Yeah, exactly. Hopefully it comes back at some point in the calendar.
All right. So we were talking about Austin's kit earlier, but there's something else Austin have been doing, and that is the Inside the Scrum series.
Mm-hmm.
Episode 4 was released just before we started recording this podcast, so we haven't been able to watch the latest episode, but we have seen...
I did. Stu didn't do his homework, so we'll talk about it next week.
Oh, shush up. Episode 3, we've had the chance to look over and say, Derek, what did you make of it?
I loved it. I thought it was I don't know if it was just like my mood or something, but like it felt like a big jump in quality from the first 2 episodes. I liked it a lot.
Yeah.
More. It felt like it's there was a whole lot of just like interesting things I thought in this episode. A couple things. It's like one, the not really a story element or whatever, but this show is obviously on Fox Sports to FS2 in the United States, right? And I think there was a from a cinematography point of view, I thought there was a really great shot in this episode, and it was during the part where they were talking about the game with Utah, and it was the Bailey Wilson interception try, right? And there's a shot of it which kind of is from the coach's box, and it's the coaches watching the interception happen, kind of like the little bit of like the dejection or being upset about the guys throwing an interception, and it kind of pans through the crowd into like down to like Bailey Wilson dotting down under the post. But it's like when it does that, like the way that it's shot and everything, um Utah's stadium looks like jam packed
Yeah.
for the game. And it's like, that's, to me, I'm like, that's exactly what you need on, like, you know, national TV and stuff in the States. It's just like when people are watching this show, they're seeing full crowds. So I thought that was like, just from a cinematography point of view, I guess, especially, I mean, having the mountains and stuff in the background doesn't hurt either. But like, I saw that, like, it was a really nice shot. I'm like, oh, okay, like it's awesome, because it's like they're showcasing the fact that the way they did that kind of shot was like they're showcasing the fact that it's like, yeah, like the stadiums are full when like these games are happening, which I think is great. Content itself, I thought, was a lot. Like, I think the content itself took a big step up too, especially some like the behind the scenes access. You know, it's nice to, like, I mean, obviously, I guess they're censoring it because it's on like normal television or whatever, but it's like, yeah, it's cool that they're just like, you know, they're censoring it, but it's like, you know what the coaches are saying and stuff, you know, during like the halftime speeches and things. I think it's to me, it's kind of fascinating. There's a couple other elements of it. I thought it was interesting hearing um the like hearing the organization talking about Sam Harris at the start when he was doing the radio hit, you know, talking about how hard it's been to market during COVID and stuff. I thought was an interesting one. It's just like players can't players can't go out to schools or do a lot of public appearances that you would maybe otherwise want them to be doing, in the event that you're trying to market a team in a new league. Um, Also kind of interesting too, because they brought up Adam Gilchrist, and I think it's hilarious that the players seem to barely know who he is.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
So
They're
yeah,
like,
that
yeah, I think I had a Zoom call with him one time or whatever. And even in the show, like, all you see of him is like his, like, I don't know if it was like
stock
his,
photos from
the
when he was
stock
opening the
photos,
New
and
York
like
Stock Exchange.
that one time Mark Wahlberg convinced him to like go out in public at the stock exchange that one time. Um, so I think that's I think that's kind of interesting how it's like they're weirdly, like, without even showing Gilchrist, they're kind of weirdly building him up as like some sort of, I don't know, behind the shadows kind of character or whatever.
Like
And they even
behind the
indicated,
curtain.
like, I can't remember if it's 4 now that I've watched 4, but it's like at some point they like indicate that he was upset about a loss or something, which I thought was kind of interesting too. Um, I think too, you got to see we got to see Mo Abdelmanem reacting to his knee injury that held him to only 5 games last year. But you know, and even like I think it's kind of interesting how, like, from episode 3, I won't spoil too much for you, but going into episode 4 too, it's like the fact that Austin can't score is becoming a really big deal on the show.
Yeah.
Or whatever, which I think is a very interesting kind of like story point to kind of be going at here.
Yeah. So this is the thing, is like I mentioned last week, there were issues with like the storytelling of how episode 1 was talking about the first few games of the season, then episode 2 went back to like preseason and previous seasons, and then continued on. And then in episode 3, it's like we're continuing the story, and then we're going back to preseason by bringing up Adam Gilchrist again.
I don't really.
So
I didn't get that vibe from it. I thought they were just kind of talking about him. Like,
I know, but it just felt strange to me to just bring it back to Adam Gilchrist and like, yeah. So like the pacing felt a bit off again. But and I think that'll probably be like just my opinion of it. I think it's, maybe they've seen Drive to Survive and gone like, well, this show takes it from follows sports stars around and goes from this to this with no sequential order, so we can do it as well. Or maybe they are just like slowly drip feeding us Adam Gilchrist until he makes his big appearance in episode 6 and actually has like a sit down interview. A man can dream is all I'm saying. But
you're just hating on the show for no reason, man. I love
it. That's everything needs valid criticism to help it improve for like next season as well.
Yeah, and it's I think it's been interesting too. I like it. It seems like there's a little bit more of the behind, like the access of like the stuff that you don't get to see. Like I love anything that'll show me like coaches like halftime speeches, especially when teams aren't playing well, because those are the best ones.
But what I like is showing like when the guys go on off season, or not off season, bi-week trips.
Yeah,
and then you see like different people doing, and obviously you get to spend more times with their family. And I think it was Isaac Ross was talking about that he was spending more time with his kids so that his wife could get time away to just decompress and relax. And it's always great to show these athletes as people, and then it just becomes like more relatable, because I'm sure so many of us would like just time off to decompress, or be able to jump in the swimming pool with your kids when you have like time off and just have a bit of fun. But just sharing like time with family is something that everyone can relate to. I said last week about I don't know who the target audience for this show is, but I feel like as the episodes are going on, it's focusing more on who's getting the most out of this, so to speak.
Yeah.
Well, I'm looking forward to watching episode 4 after
great.
this podcast, and we'll be able to talk about it next week. We've got some other MLR news now. There's a bit of signings going on. A big trade, again, involving LA. This time it's New York, not Toronto. New York have traded Hanko Germishes to LA. It's not entirely clear what New York have received in this trade, but getting Hanko to LA is obviously a big win for the Giltinis. Yeah,
I mean that's I do like Hanko's obviously a really big player in this league. Like he's a big name. Obviously, it's going to contribute to LA in a big way. But it's like he's an Eagle. He's probably one of the more well-known players in the league too. And it's like I think it's something that's like the league does have to get better at in some ways, especially since we saw earlier this season, like a previous trade that LA made, right, with the Toronto Arrows. It's like we got all the details of what the trade was, right, in the initial press release, right? We got the, we got the James O'Neill, we got the pick, a little bit of cash. We got every detail of that trade right away, right? And it's like I feel like Hanko is like, I mean, maybe some people like maybe you can let it slip when it's like not that big of a player, but it's like I feel like Hanko is too big of a name to just kind of be like, we acquired Hanko Hermesize from New York in a trade. And then I know, Stu, I know you're gonna, when we get down this list here, you're gonna bring up the fact that a player from LA has now signed with New York. And it's like maybe you go put 2 and 2 together, but it's also like maybe that's just a coincidence. Maybe
it's the wording on these press releases, which
it's like maybe that's a coincidence. Maybe it's
doesn't help.
Maybe it's not. I have no idea. But like you said, it's like it's unclear as to what the trade actually is. And I know, like, if I'm a New York fan, like, and I saw that it's like, one of our star players just got traded. Like, I want to know what we got back, right? Because I would want to know what we got back. And I think that's something that the league sometimes needs to work on.
Yeah. Well, speaking of which, that player that's joining New York from LA is Pago Heine. But we've also joining New York, replacing Hanko essentially, is Brendan O'Connor, who's joining from Hawke's Bay. Matt Moulds has joined San Diego from Worcester Warriors, and Joe Walsh is also joining him there at San Diego. Weiner Grassman has signed with Houston. Will Tucker has joined New York from Otago, and Rugby ATL has re-signed Damon Torres and Will Burke as well. Now, in Canadian news, we have Josh Thiel has re-signed in San Diego, and joining him is another Canadian from Toronto is Pat Lynott. So Pat's made his way from the cold east to the temperate west of San Diego.
Yeah, I hope he flew out before today.
Well, preseason has already begun. He'd be pretty bad player.
I guess he'd be a little late, eh?
Yeah. And we have Reed Watkins joining Seattle from technically ATL 404, although he did sign for Toronto at the end of last season. He didn't play, but he's technically a Toronto player, so he's one of us. So we'll take credit for all his training up until this point. Well, Reed Watkins from gathered from the press releases, been a wrestler as well as a rugby player. So if there's one guy who knows how to bring another player to the ground, it's going to be Reed Watkins. And let's just say if handbags do occur, you better hope that Watkins isn't the guy you're
why
ticking off on the other side.
Wrestlers can't throw punches. They just they're not good at that.
They may not be good at that, but if you trip and end up on the ground, then he's going to make you remember it for the rest of your life.
Yeah, but that's you said handbags though. That's punching.
Anything.
You know what? I'm saying this. Reed Watkins could totally like beat me up, so I have no idea why I'm saying this. I have no idea why I'm questioning this man's fighting ability on the internet and
keep your words short and sweet before they get fed back to you.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm sorry, Reed. Reed is gonna be the best scrum half in Major League Rugby in 2022. There we go, to make up for it. Please don't hurt me, but yeah, so it's like Reed Watkins obviously going to Seattle. Looks like it might be a decent situation there. I think the JP Smith is the current scrum half there, and so it's might be some opportunity for him to like come off the bench, which obviously hopefully will benefit his game. Plus, I mean, he's a BC kid, right? So he's a little bit closer to home, geographically, anyways. Which I mean, I'm sure is nice for some of the BC guys that have played for Seattle over the years, because Seattle always seems to go to the well of the beautiful province just north of them. So, San Diego obviously signs up a couple of Canadians. Lots of Canadians going to California when you kind of combine these two squads here.
They're going for the sun.
Yeah, exactly. California
is hidden behind 20 inches of snow over here.
Yeah, exactly. California is the new Seattle, apparently, the prime destination for Canadians here. So it's obviously Josh Thiel. He played one game last year and then got hurt, which is unfortunate. So he basically missed. I mean, he missed the entire year. Like that's the way to say it. So hopefully that knee's all healed up, healthy. Excited to see him back. San Diego, I mean, he could play. He's a kind of a center fullback type guy, but San Diego's got some centers in that squad with Tian Lutz, Mad Nanu, Thomas Moriani. So it's quite the competition he's got there for game time, which is always a good thing, right? Because it's like that makes you better. Hopefully, having Nanu teach you how to play center is probably a really nice treat to have.
The player who coached you on your rugby journey? Oh, just some Kiwi guy, been to a few World Cups, all that.
Yeah, arguably the best center of all time. And then you got Pat Lynott moving over from Toronto. So yeah, like I mean, it's they San Diego added Joe Walsh, a prop out of from the Southland Stags this week as well. So we can go back to the Arrows connection. I think that's Morgan Mitchell's team from the Mitre 10 Cup. So they got Walsh, and then they still got Nathan Sylvia there. Pifoletti, I don't think has been announced as being signed yet, but there is an America's Rugby News article that seems to indicate that he might be expected to come back. That's the article talking about Walsh's signing. So it's the loose head props at San Diego's pretty deep. So that'll again hopefully what I mean? Hopefully, a great chance for Lynott to learn and to kind of grow as a player, and it's going to be some tough competition for playing time, but hopefully he's up to the challenge.
All right, we're going to be ending the podcast there, but we've got some news on where you can watch rugby this weekend. Again, it's another weekend of Champions and Challenge Cup, which means you're going to have to break out the wallet for this one because it's on epcrugby.tv. €20 for the entire weekend.
Be honest, have you watched one of these games through this yet?
You can also watch the Japan League One for a much more reasonable price of free on the Rugby Network. This is only available to North American viewers. And this week, we've got some MLR games. However, these are pre-season games. Nothing has been announced through the Rugby Network at the time of recording, as well as any of the team social media channels of if they're going to be broadcasting these games.
Hopefully they do.
Here's hoping they keep at least a Twitter feed of what will be going on during those games. And this is the time that every team wants to lose, give a false sense of security, and then just smash them. So on Friday, which is January 21st, we have San Diego versus Austin, as well as DC versus Toronto. And then we have 3 games on Saturday, the 22nd. And it's a bit of an interesting one because we have Houston versus Dallas, and then NOLA versus Houston. So this seems to be a case of split squad. So one squad will be staying at home to face Dallas, whilst the other will be off to Louisiana to face NOLA. As we've mentioned, there's been no announcement of squads or any other details for these games, but it's going to be interesting to see who's going to be in yellow and who's going to be in black for these games. And then, as we mentioned at the start of the show, Seattle will be playing Seattle on Saturday as well. So, just turn up in blue and green, and I'm sure you'll be happy no matter what.
Do you want to go with a trial run of the predictions?
Should I or
the toonie?
Shall the toonie make that decision?
Back? Yeah, let's you know what? Let's just give the give the toonie a warm up.
Let's give the toonie a
warm up. San Diego, Austin.
Okay, so for those who haven't been watching, I haven't been keeping up to date, remember the toonie decides heads for home, tails for away. So we have San Diego versus Austin, and the toonie says it's going the way of the Legion. Okay, next up we have DC versus Toronto, and that match will go to Old Glory.
Oh, see, the toonie's broken. That's why we have to do toonie preseason. It's not warmed up yet.
Yeah, that's why we're doing toonie preseason.
Yeah, exactly. It's not warmed up yet. Yeah.
Okay, Houston versus Dallas. Says that it is going to go to Houston.
Yeah, see, it's broken. It's not warmed up.
Okay, well, now we've got NOLA versus Houston as well. Let's see how that turns out. Looks like it's going to be a good day for Houston because Toonie's saying that going to win both games.
Yes.
And now Seattle versus Seattle. Who's going to win this game? The Toonie says it's going to be Seattle. Who would have thought that?
I think Seattle's going to win personally, but
to be honest, if Seattle can beat Seattle, that's going to be an amazing result. All right, we're going to end the podcast there. Thank you so much for joining us. If you like listening to this podcast, you can listen to our previous episodes on Anchor FM, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. If you like to see our beautiful faces, you can catch previous episodes on YouTube. And we're also available on social media. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Now, if you're watching this, you can already see our handles down here where to find us on social media. But Derek, if people are listening, where can they find you?
I'm at Brissette the Jet across basically every social media platform that you can think of. I also wanted to add to that, as means to kind of alluded to, we're recording this on Monday night. It's kind of our thing now as we head into the 2022 season. So I kind of just want to put this out into the world, so I'm held accountable by something, which is basically the game plan is to record on Monday night, which should allow the episode to come out on Wednesday morning every week as the 2022 MLR season progresses. So I just kind of want to put that out there for my own personal. I just want to hold myself accountable, and I feel like if other people know that I'm supposed to do this thing and get it out every Wednesday, then it'll actually come out every Wednesday. Because I already failed at that last week, didn't work out too well. But we'll try it. We'll try for every Wednesday now. Stu, where can the fine people find you?
Well, they can find me on Twitter and Instagram. My handle is Hardman, spelled H4RDMAN. And if you're part of the press team for any MLR team and you have big news coming out on Tuesdays and Wednesdays that you'd like us to talk about so that it's actually relevant by the time our episodes come out, then you can email us at the Rouge Rugby podcast at gmail.com. Thank you so much for joining us for this episode, and we look forward to seeing you and joining us again in the next one.